Hey everyone, welcome back. We are jumping into a pretty complex situation today.
Yeah.
NATO and Russia.
Big topic.
Big
Okay.
topic. Yeah. We've got some fascinating stuff to cover today, recent statements, some key figures involved.
Oh, yeah. Real interesting stuff.
By the end, hopefully you'll walk away knowing what the risks are
Absolutely.
and just where things stand right now with all this
Mm.
and what it all means for, the world, everyone.
Right. Global stability, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some of the big questions we'll be looking at today.
Okay.
Is NATO thinking about preemptive strikes?
Wow.
And what is it that Putin really wants?
It's the big question, isn't it?
It is. It is. So let's start with Admiral Rob Bauer,
Okay.
NATO's military committee chairman. He said recently that NATO might actually consider preemptive strikes
Mm.
against Russia if conflict seems like it's about to happen.
Right.
This seems like a pretty big change
Yeah.
from how NATO has, acted in the past. Always defensive.
Yeah. I mean, traditionally, it's been a defensive alliance. So this statement, it really highlights how seriously they're taking the threat from Russia.
Right.
Like, they are really concerned. To understand this shift, I think we need to break down what a preemptive strike actually is.
Yeah, good point.
Essentially, it's striking first,
Mm.
before the enemy can even launch their attack. The goal is to disable the enemy.
Take away their ability to attack.
Exactly, and hopefully prevent something even worse from happening.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
NATO might actually consider, let's say, taking out Russian missile launchers
Yeah,
or like key military sites before they can even be used.
potentially. That's the idea.
That just sounds so risky to me.
It is. It's a huge gamble.
Yeah.
A preemptive strike. I mean, it could be miscalculated so easily or misinterpreted.
Right.
And then, boom, the conflict just explodes.
Escalates like crazy.
Exactly. And then you have the ethical questions, legal questions.
Oh, yeah. Using force. Big questions on the world stage.
Huge implications for international relations.
Yeah, for sure. And Bauer didn't stop there. He also said that Western companies need to get ready for, like, wartime conditions.
Oh, wow.
Adjust how they produce things,
Yeah.
distribute things,
Yeah.
all to, be less vulnerable to Russia and China.
Interesting.
That sounds like a lot. What would that even look like, in real life?
It's a big ask, no doubt. He's basically talking about economic warfare, using money, economics to achieve goals, like in a war.
Interesting. So not troops, but trade and finances.
Exactly. Think sanctions, supply chain disruptions, financial pressure, the whole shebang. Imagine, for example, Western companies. They rely a lot on Chinese microchips, right?
Right.
So they might start investing in making those chips at home, or maybe partner with other countries that make them.
So diversify, basically.
Right. It wouldn't be easy. Definitely costs involved.
For sure.
But that's the kind of thing Bauer's talking about.
So it's like using the economy as leverage, a way to prevent conflict.
Exactly. Protecting their interests.
But this all raises the question of time. Does NATO even have enough time to do all this? Because Bauer seems to think there is time.
Okay.
He says Russia's not the same threat that it was back in February of 22.
Right.
But then you have Bruno Kahl, the head of German intelligence.
Right.
And he's warning that Russia might attack NATO by 2030. So how do we make sense of this? Two very different views.
Well, predicting what's going to happen in geopolitics.
Yeah.
It's like trying to predict the weather.
Right.
There are so many things you have to think about. Russia's military strength.
Okay.
Putin's goals.
Right.
What could actually trigger a conflict? It's really complicated.
Yes.
Maybe Bauer's just focused on how Russia's military is doing right now. They've been hit hard by the current fighting.
Right. Makes sense.
But Kahl, he might be thinking more long-term.
Okay.
What are Russia's big strategic goals? What could happen down the line?
So different timelines, different focuses. Okay, that makes sense.
And then there's Putin,
Oh, yeah. Putin. Got to talk about Putin.
the man himself. He's been downplaying Russia's intentions, saying they don't want to fight NATO.
Right.
Even pointed out the difference in defense spending between the U.S. and Russia.
Right.
Like, look how much more they spend. What's his game here?
What is he doing? Is he really trying to, calm things down?
It's tough to know for sure. Putin's a master at, using words strategically.
Right.
Maybe he's trying to reassure his own people,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe he's trying to create division within NATO, get them to disagree.
Oh, interesting.
Or, he could just be buying time.
To rebuild.
Yeah, rebuild his forces. We can't just take what he says as the truth.
Right. Always got to read between the lines.
Always got to think critically.
Exactly. And he also completely denied that Russia has any plans to attack Europe.
Hmm.
Called those reports manipulation from the West, trying to trick people.
Yeah. That brings us back to critical thinking. Whenever you hear a politician talking, it's super important to consider who they are.
Right.
What's the context? Who are they trying to reach with their message? We can't just accept things blindly.
Got to think for ourselves.
Exactly.
Sure. Now, both Bauer and Call used a very specific phrase.
Right.
They said, "We are in direct conflict with Russia." That's a serious statement. So what does that mean? I mean, beyond, just tanks and soldiers shooting at each other.
It means that this isn't just a traditional war. It's a battle happening on many levels. Economic sanctions,
Right.
information warfare.
Cyber attacks, we've seen those.
Exactly. And these proxy conflicts, it's like a web. Actions and reactions. And it's happening everywhere.
It's not just one battlefield. It's everywhere.
Exactly. It's global.
And Call also brought up Putin's idea of a new world order.
Oh, right.
What would that even look like? And what would it mean for, the power structure in the world?
Putin, he seems to want a world where the U.S. isn't calling all the shots. Less U.S. dominance. He wants a system where multiple countries have power. Oh.
Okay.
A multipolar world. And, of course, Russia would have a much bigger say in things.
A much bigger role.
Exactly. This could mean alliances changing?
Countries switching sides?
Potentially. New power centers emerging?
Like different countries rising up?
Exactly. And maybe even rewriting the rules of international institutions.
Wow. That would be huge.
It would be a massive shift.
Yeah. Well, this has been really eye-opening.
A lot to process.
It is. So, just to sum up,
Okay.
we've got NATO potentially launching preemptive strikes.
Right.
We've got the lines between economics and war getting blurry.
Very blurry.
And we've got completely different views on what the future holds for this conflict.
Absolutely.
So, given everything we've talked about,
Yeah.
how should people and countries deal with all of this?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is. This world is becoming more unpredictable, volatile. It's something to really think about moving forward. And remember, knowledge is power.
Couldn't agree more.
Understanding these really complex issues.
Yeah.
That's the first step to taking action.
To making informed decisions.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great having you.
My pleasure.
Until next time.